So, that episode was an absolute bombshell, huh? I did not think, even for a second, that this early we were gonna find out the boss's identity. I thought we were gonna like drag it out, leave clues, leave breadcrumbs, and then at the end it's gonna be a big plot twist, but nah! We found out his whole backstory. It's funny too. People knew that I was gonna love this episode, and I was like, yeah, okay, I guess. So I am very hyped, as you can tell. It took me a while just to start this video, because I couldn't force myself to sit down. So let's just jump into it. We'll go through this episode bit by bit. So we start off, mother giving birth. It's a very bizarre birth. She's giving it in an all-women's prison, all-women guards, and she's been in there for like years already. And she wasn't pregnant when she went in. So they don't know how she got pregnant. And supposedly, the father died 2 years ago, and right now she's giving birth. You only hold a baby for like 1 year max, you know. So all of this is very weird. It will need an explanation in the future. But right now, we're focusing on that baby. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know like the context of the story when I was watching it for the first time. So the first thing was in my thought, I was like, oh, is this Trish? I see the pink hair. And then we move forward and I find out it's a boy and I was like, oh, does Trish have a brother? Because even so, he looked so young, and it's mentioned later on that he looks very young. But no, that is Trish's father. We have a short narration of his early life. We kind of see how he met Trish's mother. And, you know, it's just kind of one scene with them, not a full love story or anything. It's just like, oh, she went up to him, she talked to him for a little bit, and he worked up the nerve to ask her out. He was raised by a priest, and oddly enough, another mystery that I'm assuming will be talked about later, he had his mother's body alive underneath the floor. I don't know how he tracked her under there. I don't know how she's alive. But as soon as the priest digs her up and finds her, they're all dead. So to summarize who Doppio is and why he's doing these evil things, even though he seems so kind and kind of awkward and, you know, maybe a little bit slow when you meet him at first. Incredibly bad luck, very clumsy. He seems like a, I guess, average teenage boy. He seems like a Peter Parker type character. As it turns out, Doppio is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Now granted, this is not the first time we've had a villain who's a little bit crazy. You know, we had Kira, and I thought Kira was a little bit off the edge with his hand fetish thing going on there. But oh boy, we have a multi-personality schizophrenic to add in the mix. So what we have here is his good personality, which is like the awkward, clumsy, nice guy. And then we have his other personality, basically like his polar opposite. He's smart, he's confident, he's strong as all hell. Now here's the interesting part of this split personality we got here. It's not your typical when one takes over, the other one doesn't have any memories of it or anything like that. Both personalities know that the other exists. They just don't know that they're in the same body. So Doppio actually thinks that he's working for the boss without realizing that he himself is the boss. And how he speaks with the boss is always through a phone. So whenever like the other personality wants to talk to Doppio, it's really interesting. They do, he starts making a ringing noise and he doesn't realize that he's the one making the ringing noise. So he looks around for a phone and he'll take an object and kind of picture it, kind of see it as a phone so that he can communicate with his other personality. And you kind of see that when he's in a dispute with his cab driver and he takes one of the dolls that's hanging off the mirror, and he starts using that as a phone, thinking that it's a car phone, but no, dude, you're just a crazy mofo talking to a doll. Now what we have going on here in this episode is we're getting more from Risotto over here. So Doppio is going to the location where the picture was, and the idea is, since they know that the enemies know about the picture, they're going to kind of stake out that place and wait for them to come. And the fortune teller reveals that Risotto will meet him in Sardinia. So he's also keeping lookout for Risotto over here, who is actually kind of trailing Doppio this whole time. Now he actually goes straight for Doppio, he stops him. Of course, he's acting all awkward, clumsy self and cowardly, full of fear, you know, holding his bloody nose. And Risotto's looking at that, he's thinking, yeah, there's no way this guy is anything more than just a citizen. But he does seem a little bit suspicious. Something's a little bit off about him, you know? And that's when Risotto realizes that he's a stand user. And the way that he realizes it, which I think is pretty interesting, Aerosmith is actually patrolling the skies to kind of keep a lookout over the spot, because they know that the boss probably knows that they have the picture and they know where to go. So they're making sure it's safe by having Aerosmith kind of patrol. And Doppio, without really thinking about it, he hears the sound of the plane and he looks over to it. And of course, Risotto notices that and he's like, you're a stand user because you could hear that sound. Now Doppio has to be within 2 meters of Risotto to actually use the stand against him. So he starts charging forward, and we see a little bit more of Risotto's power. You see that he somehow has blades stuffed in his throat, and he starts coughing them up. And that's fucking disgusting. But beside the point, he doesn't know how Risotto's doing that. The boss, the other personality, doesn't know how he's doing that. It's all a mystery what his powers are. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of when we were first introduced to Bruno, and, you know, he had the fingers inside of Giorno's mouth, and there was no real way the audience could have known what his powers were, because supposedly the way he was putting the fingers in his mouth was that he made a zipper down his neck and cheek, and he was just kind of putting them in there without Giorno noticing, I guess. But he also kind of makes needles appear, like, inside his cheek and nose and kind of spritz out like that. Also disgusting, of course. So it looks like it's a little bit different than Bruno's power. But yeah, it looks like we're going to see an episode dedicated to Doppio fighting Risotto. And, you know, Risotto's kind of on our side. It's like a weird kind of relationship that the main team, Team Jojo over here, has with the rebels, because it's like, I understand why they want to kill the boss. The problem is they wanted to also kill Trish or harm Trish, and we don't want to kill Trish, you know? We'll stick to killing the boss. I mean, if that is how it's gonna end. Is it gonna end with actually killing the boss, or is this gonna be one of those weird endings where we actually reform the boss or get rid of the other personality? Is there even a way to get rid of the other personality? That's an interesting question. Just like put him on medication and then I know, this is Jojo. I don't know, I kind of like the idea that there's a Peter Parker character. Another thing about Risotto and Team Jojo's relationship is Team Jojo has kind of killed a few of their people, you know? I mean, self-defense, right? You know, we were just protecting Trish, but they are kind of with the Nakama, you know? It's like, those were my people. That's kind of the whole reason why they're rebelling against the boss to begin with. But all in all, they're got the same goal now, and that is to defeat the boss. You get your revenge, and we allow Trish to be safe and have her own life. I don't think they're going to reform the boss, actually. But that would be interesting, wouldn't it? No, people would probably just be mad. Great episode. I'm really excited to have learned the boss's identity. Now, the rest of Team Jojo just gotta learn the boss's identity, and then we can wrap this thing up. So tell me below, what did you think of this episode? Of course you loved it, I know. But remember to like the video also. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye! Program restart.